The family home was in Thallabawn near Louisburg. I remember Auntie Wynne meeting me in Louisburg. I had a new pair of Wellingtons and she says, these will have to come off when you go home. And I said, no, I'm wearing them to bed. She laughed. We'll something about that, she says. We arrived in Thallabawn. I was greeted by 4 dogs. I was frightened out of my skin at them. And Tommy said, oh, sure, Gra. He said, they won't touch you. He said, they'll get used to you. He said, just stroke them. He said, and they'll be fine. And there's the name. There's Cap. There's Sylvia. And that's Dad's dog, blah, blah, blah. And she's the home dog, blah, blah, blah. Well, I had more interest in the dogs. I was starving hungry. I said to Auntie Wynne, I said, the Wellingtons are hot. Can I take them off? Oh, thank God, she says, for that. She said, you won't go wearing them to bed. All right, so Tommy said, shall we have a fry-up? I think this is where this fry-up has stuck in my brain, you know. Oh, she said, not this time of night. She said, I have travelled, she said, to Castlebar back. She said, to pick Kathleen up, she said. And there's Andy watching me and the dogs. Oh, I was disorientated. Tommy was ever so good. He was at the head of the table. And did you remember they used to have a long form inside the table?
No.
For sitting down. That was for the workmen years ago. And they'd be having their dinner. And they'd sit 4 of them in there for a meal. Anyway, the farm was in there and the dogs and myself. So, oh, I had pride of place next to Grandad. The farm was here. The table, Grandad and the table was there. The Grandad and his seat was there. And he said, push up here near me. He said, there'll be nobody sitting there tonight, but there will tomorrow. And then he said, how old are you? I said, 5. And where have you come from? I said, Castlebar. Did you like it there? No. Why didn't you like it? I was in a room. I said, with a load of kids. And I said, oh. I said, the screams and the shouts. I said, were getting to me. Not in that phrase, of course, because I wasn't that well trained then. Oh, he said, that's all right. He said, I'm pretty deaf, so you'll do plenty of shouting in this house. The only thing is, I can't light the pipe. Oh, do you smoke? Yeah, he said, I got a bad leg. And he said, you'll have to light the paper for me. He said, to light the pipe. Well, that was my regular job. Well, Francis, I soon got rid of lighting the bloody pipe and the papers and all the rest of it. So, anyway, Auntie Wynne went back to England and I was ever so lonesome. I was crying, all the rest of it. Was Alice alive? She was, I think. Yes. Now, there was the rosary. And Andy said to me, I'll always remember old Andy saying, sure, he said, this girling will be fed up with prayers, he says, coming from the nuns. Shut your mouth, you, says Alice. Don't put that on her. What did you know about it? I've heard all about these convents and all the rest of it. So he said, so Tommy looked up and he said, well, a few more, he said, won't go amiss. So Alice started the rosary. So then now Landy started the trimmings. The rosary was, there was the litany in the rosary. Then there was what they call the trimmings. Oh, we'll pray for this cow, we'll pray for that cow and that calf, blah, 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 blah. So Angie started about, but I said, why are you praying for the cows? I said, they don't pray for us. Well, he said, they do in their own way. I said, Andy, the nuns never taught us that. Well, they don't know what they're talking about, he said. Well, anyway, we had great fun. So then it was time to go to bed. And I said, where am I sleeping? So Andy said, only just joking. Oh, he said, you're sleeping with me. I said, what? I am not, I said. I want to sleep with one of the dogs. Oh, no, Cry, you can't sleep with the dogs. And they put me into this big double bed on my own. And I was really lost, Francis. And I cried in the night. And Alice got up and she came into bed with me. She said, never mind, Sunday morning, we'll go visit them tomorrow. I'll introduce you to the neighbours. So after that, Francis, from then on, I can't really remember the, what you call it, not the agenda. Well, more or less. Then it was the milking of the cows. That's when the hard labour started. Now, from then on, it was school. School was fine. I got on all to school. Kathleen is here. He said she works hard. He said she doesn't interfere with anything. The only thing he said I did worry about, he said, was when she was climbing up there on that mantelpiece. He said she was very sensible. For a 5-year-old, he said, she couldn't reach the mantelpiece. So she got the sweeping brush. That didn't work. So she thought, now what'll I do? So she went out to the barn and she got the rake, you know, the rake for the hay. And I brought it in. And he said, what do you do with the rake? I'm going up there to get that down off the mantelpiece. Oh, the Lord save us. He said, what next? He said, but you done the trick. And he never forgot it. The brains that I used to get that down off the mantelpiece. I didn't put the bit in about the petrol and the pipe.
Go on.
Well, I used to get fed up of Pat and Andy and the pipe and the paper and the lighting of the pipe. So in the mornings when it was very cold, we couldn't light the fire. And I used to see them throwing paraffin oil on the fire. And I thought, oh, great, that'll light it. So I got Andy's pipe, cleaned it, scraped it, cleaned it out. So I put a tiny, tiny drop of oil in the bottom of the pipe, filed down the tobacco, lit it up. I didn't light it up, packed it up. There you are now, Andy.
Sorry.
Bless you. I don't want no more lighting the papers. This is the last paper I'm lighting for you. Well, he had a trilby hat on. I said, hold on now. Are you ready? I'm coming with the paper to light the pipe. Well, Francis, all I could see going up in the air was white smoke. Ah! His eyebrows got singed. The moustache got singed. Oh, you know, I could have burned the poor man, and I didn't realise it. Oh, madame, I was only a little girl after all. Oh, I could have burnt the poor man to death. Oh, could I ever? Well, to this day, I can picture that pipe, you can imagine white smoke going up, and the trilby hat, and the, well, it isn't bear thinking about. And he said, what are you trying to do to me, Kathleen? He said, burn me to death. Oh, I said, no, Andy, I said, I wouldn't do that. I was trying to light the pipe. Well, he said, it's not lit now. So I had just turned 15. Now, by this time, Alice had died in December. Andy was still alive. So I used to go to the shop and I'd get a pound of raisins for myself. Never paid for them. When Tommy had to go for the bill, he'd pay for the raisins and the groceries. He had a bill as long as that to pay for it. Well, he came in and he shouted and he bawled. Didn't shout and bawl at me. He shouted and bawled at his father and mother. Oh, well, that's what you get, he said, for starving her, he said. Why wouldn't she? I don't blame her. He said, I'd have done the same thing. Well, then he said, you pay for the raisins, because he said, I'm not paying for them. So I said, how much were the raisins? Tuppence? I thought they were only about tuppence. Yes, says Andy, we'll take that out of your pocket money, he said, next week. Well, we came then to the milking of the cows, and then Tommy introduced this new man from Connemara. Oh, he was a rotten old swine. I hated the sight of him. And he was very cruel to the animals. And I remember one day he was slapping the bull, and the bull used to turn around and give him filthy looks. So I told Tommy and the QT that he was beating the bull. Well, of course, that would have made the bull very cross. So Tommy said, I won't say a word. And he didn't. So he must have told him. He never beat another animal after that, because he knew that I would spy on him. Oh, I hated him, Francis. I didn't like him. And he caught me by the arm one day out in the shed, and he started pinching me here. So I ran into the house and I told Tommy. Tommy was my guardian angel then. Well, I heard Tommy shouting and bawling at him. Tommy got rid of him. He was horrible. I think he was one of those weirdos. And I went back into the house, and poor Andy, he was there, and he had the stick in his hand. He said, if you ever lay a hand, he said, on that gosser, because we were called gossers then, he said, I'll break your fucking neck. And that was the first time I heard that word fucking. So Tommy was at the table and he was good. Here. Good. So anyway, they got rid of him. He was no good. And after that, everything was fine. I just was more or less running the farm. I grew up big girl. So then I was 15, I think, or 16.
Who's the guy you used to say Anana how?
Oh, that was Paddy Hughes. Oh, he was hired out from Letterfrack. It was a school for boys that had, what's that, dyslexia, is it? And he was a bit behind, but he was a nice chap. He was very good to Andy and the mother, and to me, mind. He acted like a gentleman.
And was he a worker on the farm?
He was a worker, but he was very nice, Paddy. And we used to make fun of him. Then Tommy had this old bike, and he gave it to me to go to the dances. Well, Paddy used to steal the bike on me for him to go to the dances. Well, we used to have such rows over the bike. So Andy, one Sunday evening, said, if you two don't stop arguing about that bike, he said, I'll bring it in, he said, and I'll burn it, he said, on the fire. Well, then poor Alice died, and I was left to bring up the household. Then I was 16 years of age. I was finishing school, and we didn't know, Andy or I didn't know that Tommy was courting even. And I came home from school, and Andy said to me, your dinner's there, kill the spots for yourself. I got news for you. He said he's gone off to get married. Oh, I said. He said, Tommy, marry who? Oh, I said, who's he getting married? I don't know her. I haven't seen her. I don't know what she's like, but she's from out there in Bundarha. She's one of the Hanahans, and she can't be much good. Oh, I said, Andy, don't say that. I said, she's a new woman. She'll be coming into the house. She'll save me a lot of... No, you've got to look after me, he said. You've got to look after me. I said, yeah. And I said, well, what have I got to do for you? Nothing more than what I'm doing now. Well, he said, you're not to let her boss you around. I said, you've got to stand up for me there. So he said, I would. Anyway, are you recording all this?
Mm-hmm.
So he said, oh, I don't know, Andy. I said, a new woman coming into the house. I said, she'll be boss now. I won't be boss anymore. You will, he said, as long as I'm alive. And I want you to promise me now that you will never set foot outside of that door until I'm dead and gone. You've got to look after me. I said, I will. I look after you. And I did, Francis. I looked after why even now I do miss him. Alice was she was the stronghold. She was the boss. She had her tabs on the money. She used to keep her money down here because I used to sit in her lap and I used to feel the bag of money. And yeah, he said, that's where she keeps her money. He said, he used to call me Cotchlin. Never called me anything else. That's where she keeps her money. Don't tell everyone, he said. Don't you be telling everyone. And don't be telling anyone at school. She says to me, I said, no, I won't. And I didn't tell anyone. Anyway, she died. We were very sad and lonely when she died. So he sat me down one night. He said, Kathleen, I want you to promise me that you will stay here and look after me, he said, until I die. I said, I will, Andy. I did promise him and I kept my promise. So he said, oh, that'll be lovely. Then Tommy got married. Tessie came into the house. And of course, I didn't know her as anything but Tessie. Paddy Hughes didn't stop calling her. He didn't stop calling her Tessie. Now, Tessie. Well, that Kathleen, he said, and she's the cause of all my trouble. And she said, she slapped me the other day because he said she caught me letting the wind out of the tires on the bike. Good, said Tommy. Well, Tommy used to love it when we rode, Paddy Hughes and I, because he knew 'twas harmless and 'twas all innocence. And what about me? I said, well, I'm going to be looking after the house now. Oh, no, says Andy. The new woman will be taking over now. Then he said they'll be gossers. Oh, I said, no, Andy. I said, there won't. So Tommy said, will you two stop bickering at one another? Well, it wasn't long anyways till Tessie was expecting, and she had Eden. And for the first year, first 6 months, oh yes, Andy wasn't very well, and I had dressed up Eden. We had a beautiful linen suit, and he looked lovely. I think they've still got it in Napa, you know. That her mother had knitted for them when he was a baby. I was very, very lonely after Andy went. Well, then Aidan made up for us. So then there was Aidan. Aidan came along. There was a drove of them anyway. Sure, I was surrounded by the lads, and I was as happy as Larry. Oh, I'll never forget old Andy and Alice. Oh, they used to row. They used to be like cat and dog. Tommy had to separate them once. Yeah. There was a terrible feud between the Gallaghers and the neighbours, the Gallaghers and the Burkes, and Andy, not Andy, Tommy. And sure, they tried to beat up poor Tommy. Mikey Burke was going to stab him this morning on the road.
Well, what was this about?
Oh, it was about sheep grazing, coming in on the land and trespassing. All little trivial things, Francis. You know, Kieran will tell you more about that. They were jealous of one another, the neighbours. And anyway, Tommy was coming up from he was coming up from the garden. And Mikey Burke was coming down the road against him. He had the cart and horse. And he jumped off the cart and he had this knife. And I happened to go over the postman's step. Did you know where the postman's step was?
Yeah.
You didn't.
You did. You showed me.
And I said to him, what are you doing? I'm going to stick this, he said, as far as it'll go through him. I said, you what? Oh, I said, you try it. I said, if you do, and I'll undo your horse and your cart. And I said, I hope, I said, he runs away. And I said, did you break your bloody neck? Oh, I was flittering. So I ran into the house. Tommy wouldn't come out. I wouldn't let him come out. And Mikey Burke went home. He was going to stick him with the knife. That's how bad the feud was. But I think there was more to the feud than what I had known about, you know. And sure, poor Tommy wouldn't hurt a fly. Of course, he didn't have the lads in. They were all small, and poor Tessie was frightened to death of them all. So Tommy said to me, he said, what happened? He said, after, so I told him. But he said, what did you do? He said, stop him. Well, I told him straight. I said he wasn't due to do anything. I said, in my presence. I said, not when there was a knife. Did he have a knife? I said, yes, he did. And I told Tessie, well, then I think they got the guards out. They got the guards out. But they waited till the night time to get the guards. They didn't want the guards coming during the day because the Gallaghers and the Burkes would have notified one another that the guards were in our house. So the guards didn't come home till, and there wasn't another peep out of them after. Paddy Hughes. And anyhow, Kathleen, can I borrow the bike? He said, to go to the dance. He said, if I meet any of them Burkes or the Gallaghers and anyhow, he said, yes, I said, you'll have me along with you. Yeah. So I think that finished the feuds. There was no more after that. Of course, I left them to come to England. Tessie was afraid, mind. She was afraid. And I think this is why they kept me at home for so long, so that her lads would have got established, you know. And I didn't understand Francis. I was naive and I was thick. I didn't appreciate the beach. I didn't appreciate Thallabawn because, Francis, it was hard work from day one till I left to come to England. However, Tessie stuck it and brought up 9 boys. I do not know. She deserves a gold, well, she did deserve a gold medal. Tessie didn't have an easy life in Thallabawn. There were hard times, bad times, sad times. And there were good times. And the good times was when Tessie and I made our own fun between us, and Andy, of course, because he was our anchor. He was. And he used to say to Tessie, what's that Kathleen up to now? He was, mind, he idolised me, he did. And I did him, and Tessie loved him, and she really did like him, and she looked after him. And he said she was the best daughter-in-law that any man could have had. Yeah, he did. Because he had 14 children of his own.
What was it like when they used to come home? Did they come home in those days?
Oh, they came home regularly. Every 6 months they came home, especially Auntie Wynne. She was always there. If there was ever any crisis, Auntie Wynne was there. because she was my guardian angel. She adopted me. Joe that wanted his supper.
This was in Napa.
This was in Napa. And Tess said to Joe, have you had anything to eat? No, he said, Auntie Wynne won't give me nothing. So I said, Auntie Wynne, Joe hasn't had his supper. Well, he'll have to wait, he'll have to wait, he'll have to wait. So she was going backwards and forwards to the dresser. I said, what are you doing? I'm buttering a piece of bread, she said, for Joe. And, well, I said, you're a long time. I said, he's starving with the hunger. So Joe looked up and said, get it in the morning, I expect. Well, she went over to the dresser. So she had to go to the dresser, she had to go to the table. Then she got a slice of bread. She buttered it over at the table. She brought it back to the dresser to do something. And she dropped it on the floor. And she just picked it up. Here you are, Joe. There's your slice of bread. Well, he said you just picked it up off the floor. Oh, she said, that's no harm. She said the dog licked it. Oh, Mary. Oh, she was the age. Oh, Mary. Mary wanted to be here, there and everywhere. Well, Austin used to act the big shot and come home from England. And Anne, did you know Anne?
But only a vague memory.
Oh, she would. Oh, I loved Anne. I did. But I know she would never wash up a cup. I do know that much. She would never wash up a cup. But having said that, Anne was always very good to me. She brought me sweets and she used to take me to town. She was very good. And Austin was. And Austin would meet up in town, and of course he had this moustache. And he was always out and visiting. You come home here to see me, you're never home, you're always out gallivanting, visiting. And when you think you had another woman, well, I didn't know what he meant. Old Andy used to say this to him in front of his wife. Oh, but Anne was lovely. Oh, John, you would love him. Well, he was the biggest mischief maker. He was a police sergeant in Kells in County Westmeath. And of course the Gallaghers and the Burkes and all them. I think he had to settle a couple of feuds with them sometime or other. Of course, him being a policeman, he had to be very careful with his job, didn't he?
Mm.
And of course he used to go into Louisburg drinking after hours, all the rest of it. And the Burkes reported them once for him being in Sarah Gibbons's after hours drinking.
Who was in there?
John the guard.
Oh, okay.
Tommy and a few of them. Oh yeah. Oh, there was a bit of a to-do about that. The priest and all was involved in that.
What, drinking?
And somebody said, the priest, well, I don't know, they said, what you're here settling this for, because you was one of the drinkers in there. The slate was wiped. There was no more said. It was all sine die. Yeah. Noreen was the matron, but she was the clever girl. Poor Noreen, she was lovely. She walked through all her exams, but of course then she went to the convent in Louisburg. She was taught by Reverend Mother and the nuns and all that. So she was very clever mind. So she became matron of Huddersfield General Hospital, and she only had her post in the hospital about 6 months, and she took ill and they were treating her for pleurisy, but she had cancer and she died. She's buried in Killeen. Oh, that was awful sad. Oh, Noreen was good to me. I liked her.
No.
Nancy and Bernadette used to come in the summertime for their holidays because it was their father who was the guard. And Mary Kelly, Mary was nice, I liked her.
Who was she?
She was John's wife.
Okay.
But she never fitted into the Staunton family. And they didn't think that Mary was good enough for John because she was a greengrocer's daughter. You know, they had funny ideas in Ireland. Oh, poor Mary. She used to go about her business, and if John went to town, of course, John used to drink himself silly, and Mary didn't like that. So anyway, one day, Tommy said to me, "We're going to lean on today," he says, "Kathleen, to the fair." And he said, "I'm leaving you and Mary Kelly in charge of the house." I said, "Yes." "And not that Paddy Hughes, I hope." Oh, he said, "Yes." He said, "But give him jobs," he said, "outside to do." Well, we did. Anyway, the first thing was, Paddy came in with a great big armful of eggs. "Where did you get all the eggs, Paddy?" "Well, in Annahow, we're going to have them for dinner." Mary Kelly said, "Well, we are doing no such a thing now." She said, "You go back and put them bloody eggs back," she said, "where you got them." She said, "Because if you don't, I'll stand in the doorway," she said, "and I'll send you down the path and I'll throw one after the other," she said, "after you." "Well, anyhow, let's have a few boiled eggs for dinner. I'm starving." "Are you hungry, Kathleen?" "Yes," I said, "Paddy, I'm starving." So Mary said, "Well, I'll have a few." Well, anyway, we ate all the eggs. And I said to Mary, I said, "You know," I said, "I'd love to whitewash the house." Mary said, "You what?" I said, "Yeah, well, there's some lime in the bucket out there." And I said, "I'll put some water in it and I'll whitewash the walls." So didn't I do all the walls inside? Oh, she said, "What a lovely job," she said to Kathleen. "Tess won't know the place when she comes home." I said, "No, she won't." And I said, "Furthermore now," I said, "you can scrub the floor." And there was these big slabs. Mary said, "Well, will you help me?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Who's coming visiting the house?" "No one." Well, he said, "You whitewashed it." He said, "You washed the floor." Paddy was outside doing all the work, milking the cows and doing everything. Oh, it was very good that day. That was a great day we had. Anyway, everything was done by the evening. And they came home. Well, the house was spick and span. Tess couldn't get over it. And she said, "Well, you must have worked awful hard." "Yes," says Mary. "Well, I'm telling you something," she says, "Tommy." She said, "But if ever there was a slave driver," she said, "in this house," she says, "there's one. Me. Whitewashing walls, scrubbing the floors. Anybody thinks," she said, "we were cleaning a prison," she said, with the way she had us working. "Good, good, good, good," says Tommy, he said. And oh, of course, Tess was delighted. Yeah. So that was another adventure. So there we are. I've told you it all now, Francis.
Yeah. That was great.
I can't think of any more.
Well,
Look, the dot. Is that dot? No. Oh, of course, Tessie fitted in well in Thallabawn with Andy and me because we were his anchors and we were looking after him. And of course, Auntie Wynne was delighted with that. And then Auntie Wynne, she used to take Tessie to, Tessie used to take her to Bundara, and they had great welcome for Auntie Wynne. Oh, they loved Auntie Wynne. Well, of course they did, because she had a heart of gold. They all knew Auntie Wynne. Well, she was the longest one on the farm, and she did look after her mother and father. And of course, she adopted me, which was a big feather in her hat. And I paid dividends. And well, I did with them all, Francis, didn't I? I don't know what they would have done without me. Well, then I was, oh yeah, I was reaching 20 then. Auntie Wynne came home. She was blazing mad because they had me doing this and doing that and out with the cattle and the sheep and all hours and everything. So she thought, yes, it's high time, lady, you left here. So it was her that brought me to England, and that's how I come here, and I never looked back. Well, the Englishmen, well, the Irish lads, when they'd go home on holidays, and when we'd go to the local dances, they had this habit of dancing with all the Thallabawn girls, the big high ups, you know. They didn't want to dance with us locals because we weren't good enough. So anyway, this night, Roseanne and myself sat to, we had a tin of paint, white paint, and didn't we get two of the bikes and we painted them white. We did.
Saddles.
Saddles, handlebars. Yeah. They never knew who done it, but they did after, I think. Tommy knew. The next day, Tommy said, well, Kathleen, did you have a good night at the dance? You were home awful early. I said, was I? I don't remember. Oh, yeah. And was there many at the dance? I said, good few. I said, yeah. And I was very slow in answering. He knew there was something up. Well, anyway, he was down in the shop. And of course, it was all over the shop about these bikes had the red cat paint on them and they didn't know who done it. And one of them said it was Roseanne, the other said it was Kathleen Loftus, another one said it was small Tommy and all the rest of it. So Tommy said to me at tea time, well, Kathleen, he said, I was looking, he said, for that tin of cat paint, he said, dinner time. He said, I couldn't find it, and I bursted out laughing. And Paddy Hughes looked up and he said, well, in that now, maybe she used it for the bugs last night. Tommy said, you wouldn't do such a thing. Well, Tess went out to the kitchen and she could not stop from laughing. What the hell has she been up to? Because they always knew we were up to some mischief or other. But it was innocent mischief, Francis, and they didn't mind, you know. I was very lucky to have gone to a good family, you know, Francis. Wasn't I?
Yeah, you were.
I was.